You still hearing feedback?
Yeah, and my mic is muted on the laptop.
There we go. That's better.
Okay. How about this? Okay. Sounds good.
Perfect. Hey, everybody. Join us. We are on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We have some people on Instagram, some people on Facebook. I hope everybody is safe in this storm. Our storm has passed. Dr. Jackson is in Mississippi, so she got it first.
Indeed. Indeed.
So comment to let us know you are on. We're waiting for some people to log on. I think the hurricanes have passed. The tornadoes have passed.
Same difference. One is with water, one is without. Okay.
So yeah, let us know you hear type. Type in the chat box. Let us know you hear, how you doing. Give some shout outs. Let us know if you're here for Dr. Jackson. I know she has her own fan club from the great state of Mississippi.
I see one of my people there. Dr. Robinson, how are you? All right.
I think my daddy's, who's on Instagram, it's a feed all in itself. I think he joined.
Oh, that's cool. Good deal.
Well, while people are logging in, thank you, Dr. Jackson, for joining me. As you all know, I am writing, or I've written it, and will be releasing a new book.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. You're still trying to get used to this online thing.
Right.
So I am writing. I am doing some IG lives and some other lives. I am better when I can talk to other people. That's the true educator in myself. When people not talking back, I get nervous for two reasons. Either they not listening or they don't get it. So we are, yes. So I am pushing this book harder than I pushed the first. The first was my trial one. This is the time where I've learned a lot of things, pushing myself to do more, put myself out there as the expert. So you'll be seeing a whole lot more of these. The first two, I did my first one with Dominique, and we'll start to explain what we've been hinting at all along. You'll see if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, you're going to see a banner that says Ashe Publishing. We're definitely going to explain what that is. We've been hinting at it. Dominique hinted at it when she published her first book. We just kind of hit and missed it. I mentioned it last week when I had my live with her. And so this is we couldn't get each other on one live, so I had to split it into, but Ashe Publishing is our imprint. We've so far we've published, we're 3 for 3. We published 3 books. Mine would be the last. Dr. Jackson published hers through Ashe 2 months ago, a month. We about 2 months in.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then
shameless plug. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna plug everybody's book. And Dominique Washington. We doing it. Dominique published hers at the end of last year, all 3 different genres, but we've helped each other through this writing process with all of our books. And so I'm having the last conversation with my writing partners just to get some insight into what this book means. And the writing process was way different than writing my first one. I flew through that. I was unemployed, writing on everybody else's couch,
You were
consulting and exploring.
You were consulting and exploring. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so that book was really easy. I breezed through college, and I had a lot of great jewels. It was so easy. It was my message that I had been sharing for years. I knew what I wanted. I knew how to say it. Wasn't afraid. But this one, this book.
Mm-hmm.
So Live Wiser is it's a different kind of book. It's they're different, but I feel like my writing has matured. I found my voice. Right. It was buried before Go Riser. I was always in my head. I felt like I needed research, just that science part. I needed research to back up everything. And so Go Wiser, the first book, was dedicated to first gen low-income minority students like myself going through the college journey. I had to just write from the heart from that and just get out of my own head. Just for me being in that scientific research-based community, I'm like, Erin, you didn't need to study for this. You lived right. It, you taught it, you coached it. It's good. This time, it was about adulting. Mm-hmm. I'm still adulting.
Aren't we all?
We are. And so right in the middle of it, I decided to write this book. And this book is so different in many ways. I didn't have, two people that knew me from different parts of my life were my coaches who, Dominique would smile and give you the most blunt feedback possible and push me, you with the red pen, like Zorro.
I would tell my students we have to do an autopsy when we figure out what's going wrong before we have to figure out what's wrong and do the autopsy. That is not the psychological way to do that with students, but it always makes me feel better. So
oh yeah. I'm still trying to mute myself on IG. So yeah, Live Wiser is my ode to adulting. I felt like when people they just like to drop you places. You first gen, they drop you in college, say, hey, deuces, graduate on time, handle your business. We'll come back once you give us that diploma, that degree. Once you get off stage, it's ours. Right. Get that money. Oh, girl, you good. You smart. You is smart. You good. You gonna be set. Master's degree. You is good. You is set. PhD. You is good. You is set. And I'm like, I ain't set. What is going on? What is happening to me?
No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. It is. There's this moment where you feel like you're supposed to be doing, or someone thinks that you're supposed to be doing, and they project that upon what you're supposed to be doing, and that makes adulting harder because now all of a sudden you're supposed to have it all together, right?
Yes, and so this book is like a continuum. I spoke to the freshman, sophomore, high school, seniors in that area. This is more for the seniors, anybody post-grad. So post-grad means you can just have graduated, or you can be like us. Some time has passed since you were an undergrad, and we're still trying to figure it out. This is just speaking to the thing that just because you're first gen, or even your second generation or third generation college grad, that it's still different. It's still different, and there's no recipe, there's no book to help guide you. You're alone, and so that alone feeling is like something wrong with me. I see my friends doing what they want to do. People said I should have this, I should do this, I should be at this point. I wasn't. They saw different things. I saw I had the 3 degrees, but didn't realize that I was just empty. My PostGrad Blues were deferred because I did go straight into grad school. I wasn't in the real working world. And so I had a little time to sit and pretend like I had it all together. But once I had that final degree, I felt like life hit me. I thought like the floodgates of applications were supposed to come in. I was supposed to have to choose between job opportunities. That didn't happen. I was supposed to be very wealthy and supposedly rich because I have a education. I have doctor in front of my name. That wasn't the case. So I learned a lot of hard lessons, and one of the hardest lessons came at age 32 when a job lost me. Not that I lost a job. A job lost me.
Exactly. Both of us. Yes.
Yeah. That started that journey. And I was like, what happened? Nobody told me it's supposed to be like this. Nobody told me this was normal. And so I felt like I was by myself. But then I realized, like, no, this is an issue for everybody. Everybody goes through career changes. Everybody, just because you have a degree doesn't mean you want to do that for the rest of your life. Doesn't mean you have to keep a job. And so I wrote everything that I questioned and then I learned and then I found out. I wrote it all. So we start from PostGrad Blues. We go to expectations and mindset for living. We talk about purpose. We talk about finances. We talk about career. Some of the you go through career 101 and 102. Nobody that they lied to us in that whole class. It don't go like that. It don't go like that. They don't warn you about crazy colleagues. They don't warn you about bosses. They don't warn you about the racial tension the racial identity and living a fake life and the exhaustion of being a Black woman. And they don't tell you any of that. And it leads you to question your identity and figure out if is this for real? So yeah, that's what Live Wiser is about. I've read it over and I feel like I'm going to keep reading it to remind myself, like, hey, Erin, you told all these people this, so you can't go back on your word now. These are the things that you need to remember and to keep. Like, I read it and I was like, this is good. This is good. Erin, you wrote this?
If you do say so yourself. And it is. I mean, that was my, that was my first impression. Like, having been through the process, both of us writing our first books, and you sticking very closely to the vocation, right, that you talk about. And if I look like I'm going back and forth, we're on a laptop and Instagram, so I'm trying to make sure I show eye contact to both of them. But this book, Go Wiser, was great because first year college students, and even if they're not first year college students or even first gen, navigating and negotiating those spaces are often very difficult, particularly if you have no one at home to sort of help you through. And so then you think about this particular book, and my impression was that this was the book I wish I'd had 20 years ago, or maybe 25 years ago, nearing 25 years ago. I'm showing my age. I tell people I went to school in the 1900s and they go, oh my God, you sound so old. But it is the book that I wish I'd had because the unbelievable expectations that we set for ourselves set us up for the fall of that we're not expecting, but yet we should be expecting because we set up the expectation. Or as I said earlier, we have allowed people to project upon us what the expectation is. And when you and anything that differs from the plan, and I find myself doing that as well. Anything that differs from the plan is somehow going to end terribly, as opposed to figuring out what your path is. And I think that was my strongest takeaway, to figure out who you are in this post-graduation, post-grad blues, when everybody looks like they have it made. Everybody's getting married, everybody's having kids and all of that. So you set these expectations. And what your book does is allow you to say, it's okay not to change or to reevaluate what your expectations are for your life and what your focus is. And I think that's where people call it, you don't have to have a midlife crisis. You in the PostGrad Blues, you can almost staving off the crisis if you can see yourself in your grown upness and your glow up, as you call it, the grown up glow up, right? So that's my first. I wish I had. It was a book I wish I'd had 25 years ago.
Yeah, so because I'm getting a lot of, oh, I'm gonna buy this for my younger cousin. It's like some of us need a reality check because we are just, one of my chapters is called, "Do you want to live or do you want to exist?" Like, we're just existing. We are in jobs that we hate. We are in a place where we're scared to move. We hate it. We're straddling the fence. We got one leg in because it's secure, but it don't really feel good, and we want to tap that other leg out. We're just, some of us, we are existing, and it's not a great place to be.
Right.
It's very unhappy. And so a lot of those themes still resonate with the 35-year-old or the 45 and trying to figure out, I'm still paying on this degree. What does this mean? Or even if you haven't had a degree,
or I make less than what I owe for the degree that was supposed to give me the job that I was supposed to make more money than. Okay.
Yeah. I'm still paying this off, and
that part.
Lord have mercy. Yes. And so you got to figure out how these hustles, and I need to hustle, and I need, like, I don't want to do this. Like,
right.
I have a good friend who, is a doctor, and I was like, so what you ready to do? He was like, I can really just flip houses for the rest of my life and be happy. I was like, I get it. I used to think that was strange, but now I get it, because we've tied so much of our lives to degrees that we forget about what actually makes us happy. But a degree is only to cover your basic expenses. It's not to make you happy. It's not to make you fulfilled. It's not to be a part of something grander, your impact on the world. Is not any of that. So if you don't expect it from a job and you expect to get some from somewhere else, she's like, oh, okay. Well, it's 9 to 5, feels a need, and I'm not going to expect anything more. So therefore, we're not disappointed.
Well, one of the things about coming up into a new, as you say, the hustle mentality, is that higher education for many years did not teach students, my generation particularly, to monetize our education. And so when you don't learn at an early age fiscal management and how to monetize your skill set, you find yourself always behind the 8 ball. And so it always goes back for me that while we embrace the higher education mantra, I believe in a liberal arts education, I believe in higher ed, I believe that's what I do. But the age-old question between W.E.B. and Booker T still presents itself, because what he was saying, what Washington was saying, was that I'm trying to help you monetize your skill set, right? And so we created a division as opposed to melding the two philosophies. And then by the time you graduate from college with a degree and you realize I'm really trying to do this, but my passion is this, and no one showed me how to meld my passion with my fiscal management with my degree. So if I have, for example, I have a student right now who wants to go to film school, and his entire class has to do a video presentation. I said, so student X, I said, why don't you all contact him and let him produce and direct your videos, right? You've got to figure out a way to make because they don't think that they can go to school in that, right? Or that if you don't go, to get the graduate degree, that you're paying for a degree. How do you make money with that degree if something happens? Which is what we found out a few years ago. Right? How do you make money with the skill set that you have when there's no W-2 attached?
Yeah, and I went through that Early on, I've always said I wanted to. I'm not the person who works a 9 to 5, but will easily work a 9 to 9 if don't nobody make me.
Right. Right.
My grandfather, and my dad had part-time jobs, and then I just kind of thought about, like, what do you really want out of this life? Like, and so thinking about it, yes, I wanted to. I wanted to still work in education. Like, I knew I wanted a side hustle, but I wasn't. I always try to use an example, then I realized it might be offending somebody. I wasn't about to sell, detox teas or Prime America or anything. Like, I didn't want to do that. But I did want a side hustle. It's like, how can I monetize this? Because I wanted that flexibility to do what I wanted. The things that I love was family, and it was working for my church and not feeling that strain of running for, getting off and going to this meeting, going to Bible study, and being tired from the weekend, and not having time to vacation or hang out, or like, that's what I liked in my life. And I felt like a job was getting away with the things that I wanted. So how do I make this happen? And so that journey started for me early, when I received my PhD, and I didn't, the world was, we were in double dip economy during Bush, and education was taking slashes, and nobody wanted Dr. Wheeler to teach for them. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Right. So I had that epiphany early, but I thought I was by myself, and it was very lonely in that space. It's like, are you crazy? You just had you said you working for a name brand university. You got, a FDUH.
Right.
A FDUH behind.
Shout out to my students at Tougaloo who used to say that.
You got a FDUH behind your name.
Like, people, Tougaloo, stand up. It's gone nationwide. FDUH.
Yeah, I used to have to hide that I was trying to build this business on the side. I was exhausted. Like, that was like my lowest place. Like, I was just tired. I just needed out. But yeah, I wanted to get this message to people early while you're planning. Is like, this is a piece of the puzzle. So you said that one of your comments was like, this book is really Zen.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
Well, it really focuses a great deal on finding your inner peace, and being okay with whatever path that you feel is best for you, and not the projection. So I felt, as I was, reading it and reading portions and rereading portions, it was like, okay, center. We talk about meditation, finding a spiritual center to be able to be led, as opposed, it's almost as if you're blocking out the noise, right? You're telling us to block out the noise of what you think is happening on Instagram, right? What you think, because it takes 250 shots to get the one perfect shot to make you think that your life is poor because someone else has taken 50 shots, over a cliff somewhere, and then you find out it's Photoshop. Then what are you going to do? So it is very Zen in that way. Like, it's take a breath, take a moment, live in what the hard truths are about what you need to do and where you're going, right? Deal with traumas in the way that you need to deal with it. And I really like the way that you are open about that particular part of life. And the, meditate, get into therapy. It's not it's not for crazy people anymore. I mean, now you can do it on the app, right? And we're not plugging, but you can have therapy by app. But sometimes we have been conditioned that we're just supposed to push through. This is what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to push through. And we hardly ever take the time to decide if the pushing through and what we're pushing through to is what we really want. And that for me was the aha moment. Right.
That's so what was your favorite chapter?
I think it was the I think it's the section, the grown up glow up, because that's a very personal chapter. Um, and I think that's what makes the book really good in terms of not only your stories, but of course you've gotten permission from some of your friends uh, to share their story.
Maybe.
Right? Maybe
They might sue me, but they got to read the book before they can sue me. If they ain't say
right,
nothing, I know
okay,
they ain't read it.
okay.
So I'm gonna catch them. I'm gonna catch them like that.
I just dropped Easter eggs in mine. I can't even afford to have the conversation. Um, but to have those personal reflections and that you're very honest about what that means. The funny parts, particularly, my favorite part is always, the argument, hurt people hurt people. That's that one.
She has been notified that she's in the book, and she do exactly what I was like. Shane, you're in this book, and she's like, "Why?" I was like, "It's something you said." She's like, "What is it? Hurt people hurt people." I said, "For you to know exactly what I meant from a comment you probably said 10 years ago."
Right. Yes. It's that was my favorite chapter because it, particularly your friend Fayon, who has a biology degree and is also creative. And as we go through, and I've always talked about throughout my journey, is that we create these hierarchies of education. And I've had so many students who wanted to go into pharmacy school because, one, the hours, and two, the money. Right? Not that he wasn't good at it, but here's this other side that says I can do party promotion, that I'm creative, that I have a way of making people buy stuff and engage with things, and that, not that it wasn't supported, because I think you're even honest about the fact that you go, I don't know, party promotion, that's not very W.E.B. Du Boisian, right? That's not a Du Boisian angle to take for your life, and that he's turned that into a life. He could have forced through, but it's a sign of maturity. It's a sign of his deciding to be an adult, to make the decision that this is what I'm really good at, and this is what brings me purpose and joy. And I think that's how do you find the joy in what you're doing? And most of the time, you're doing the joy. The joyful things are long-term payoffs. You don't have the short term of a paycheck, of a W-2, but you invest in yourself. And I think that investment in himself was a telling story, especially and even as you're telling, it's all the way through the book, these personal stories, so that you're not talking at people. You're having a conversation with them. It's a very easy read in terms of having that conversation. Let's talk about, this is what it is, right? You're rushing, you're doing the 8 to 5, or you have on one hand, you can have a boss who is a micromanager, and then you can have a boss that tells your entire staff not to show up today. Don't call her, right? That was me. I was a good boss. I really was.
Did I add that into the book?
I don't think so, but I'm just adding it because
okay.
I'm on today.
Yeah, I just found that. Yeah, I just found the email, that screenshot that I'll forever keep. Go ahead.
I did that, y'all. I mean, really, she was sick. She had worn herself out, and she was still working from home. And I thought, what's the point of you working from home if you're sick? So I told her staff, do not email her at all. She's ill. She's on sick leave. If you need something, you call me. But that, I think that's my favorite part. That was my favorite chapter. But there's so many moments where I went, damn, I needed to hear that. Because even at my tender age,
we are still tender.
I'm, as my friend Victoria says, we're relatively still, relatively young. That there's still some lessons as I'm going through my own change of what is it that I want to do? What is it that brings me joy? That is still appropriate for me at 45. So it says PostGrad Blues, but this is really a book for people who are thinking about the next step, right? Not necessarily waiting until they worked a job for 30 years, but who are in preparation for their next step, for their own wholeness. Because perfection is never the goal.
Yeah.
Wholeness is the goal. And this helps you get to a better sense of wholeness, for me anyway, to say, okay. It's okay to go write a romance novel. It's okay. It's okay.
I just had a conversation with one of the people that I coach, and he was like, this is my productivity coaching for adults. I have coached college students, but this is where I am in life, and I actually had to be okay with that. It was like, okay, this fire is dying out for the college kids. I still love them. I do that all day. But as they're growing up, I've had to follow them, and they're still looking to me for advice, and that's where I get the most fulfillment. But he was trying to reconcile him being this recent higher ed doctor with being a DJ. And I'm like, but music has always been you. You have to be authentic. You've been in band. This is you. You don't have to apologize for being you. It's actually a way more interesting thing when you're in these boring conferences and they say, hey, give us one interesting tidbit and introduce yourself. And you can say, hey, I'm a DJ on the side.
Right. And look, like you paid at the conferences to do the receptions. You never know, right? To be the DJ.
But I told him the story. Yeah, I told him the story of my beloved doctoral chair, Dr. Mienzi. Little African man could eat a whole bunch, but he was very brilliant. He was math, but he was dean. You walked into his office. He was burning incense. He had a whole sound system. I'm pretty sure he had a vinyl player. He had a wall of CDs, but he DJ'd almost every gala and event for the Department of Science at Southern. And so when that was where I was like, okay, I can be Black, I can be smart, I can be a comic nerd, I can be everything. That's what I gathered from my HBCU experience. And I was like, you just got to be yourself. We can't hide anymore.
Right. And I think that's where, for those of us who grew up in the time where you had to be a credit, right? You had to be on such a higher level plane that you can't, this is how you behave in public, it is almost as Wanda Sykes, and I love Black comedy, as you well know, had a joke once where she said her mother would always say, don't do that. White people are looking at you. I don't mean to offend anybody. White people. So we grow up with that mentality. People are looking at you, right? And so that the things that matter to you, or that you're good at, or that you love, you have to put that aside, right? And I think that's in order for people to see, for you to see him DJ at the parties, love music, but he also loves math, because math, essentially, music is math. So
yeah.
Or as we create, and if you do that, and if you allow that on the college campus, you have a better experience, because you can create experiences and courses that help them live wiser, right? Yeah. So, and go wiser. As your first book, I think, and I think that we have to shed all of that. You can be a DJ and the dean of natural sciences division, if that's what you want to do.
And you can be acting president / provost and love sci-fi and blaxploitation comedies at the same time.
At the same time. I mean, I think one of my proudest moments was standing in front of a crowd quoting The Godfather at a faculty staff institute, and it was a time, but or talking to a professor about Michael Jordan who didn't watch basketball, but I can make those connections. It's like I can thank God for my godson who who I purchased so many copies of Call of Duty, and when I have a gamer come in my office, I can talk to them about Call of Duty at least, and who makes what and all that, and so they think I'm really cool. Or the fact that I like boxing, it always helps with the fellas, right? But to have a range of interest that are not technically academic, but I can make them academic. And that's what we lose, right? If I have a student who's interested in boxing, we're going to talk about Muhammad Ali, we're going to talk about Joe Louis, and they go, wow. You mean I can write a whole book on that? I said, I mean, but we try so much we have so much on the traditional track. The world is showing us that if we don't seize our moments now, when do we do that?
Mm-hmm.
When do you seize them? And we've all said forever, tomorrow is not promised. But when do we seize the moment for ourselves and honor the gift that you've been given? Because it's not academic, or because it's not what someone thought you ought to do, or you ought to have this spouse, you ought to have this job, you ought to drive this car. Well, I mean, and then by the time you are the tender age of 46, you are, changing careers and changing lanes, and you're okay with that.
Yeah.
But what if I'd had this book and I go, okay, maybe I don't have to do this way. Would I have still done it? I don't know. And I'm glad that the path that I've taken. But this would have given me, and I hope it gives younger readers options of how to think about the organic threads that are going through their lives. None of us are built to just do one thing.
No, and that's the one lesson that I had to reconcile. And in that same chapter, I think the Grown Up Glow Up is my favorite chapter too. Mm-hmm. It was something that I had to realize, like, how do I put this all together of, like, mm-hmm. what does it mean to be a real adult? Like, you can be an adult, or you can be, a gray adult, gloomy and gray, and actually have that gray cast on you and be mean. And mm-hmm. like my bishop says, mean as a junkyard dog. Write that down. I know you're keeping up with my pastor's isms. But are you want to be the adult who goes through life not regretting, not hurting, not being in toxic places, but being at peace? Like, peace and joy is the greatest commodity that we can ever have, above a 6-figure salary or the cars or the house. Like, how do you find a place where you can be an adult and you can go through adulting with whatever comes your way? Because it's gonna be hard. Nobody tells you that. Nobody tells you, like, regardless of who you are, what you do, what job you have, what degree you have, life is hard. So
and there are no rose bearers. There are no rose bearers when you get your degree. There's nobody standing in front of you with roses. This is not coming to America. It is you are not Prince Hakeem. You are not none of that. But it's difficult, right? You are going to have to learn the difficulties. That's what they tell you.
And expect it. Yeah, expect the challenge. Like, if somebody would say, Erin, everybody goes through this. Even the most successful people go through this. It's just how you handle it is the difference. And so, so you talked about who this book is for. You talked about your favorite chapter. Why should people purchase Live Wiser?
Well, why they should purchase Live Wiser? Because it's helpful to know that you are not alone, and gives you the tools to kind of recalibrate how you think about things, and how you think about what you want to do, whether you are nearing retirement or coming out of college in that first 10-year span. I always tell my students that, it takes 20 years to go from nausea to nostalgia. It's for students who are thinking about what the next step is, or they're, and I think it's for they should buy it because, First of all, it's a good read. And it does give you the tools. It gives you the zen, it gives you the ability and the permission to breathe. I think that's where it stands out for me. It's the permission to say, I can breathe now. I'm not alone. And let me figure out what it is that I want to do. And I think that's what I actually, when I was telling my students about it today, I said, if y'all do well, I'll buy my seniors. And don't get happy. But it's a small group of them. But that I think every college student should have this book on the way out, right? And every college freshman should have. It's like they work together. How do I work my college experience? And then how do I work my adult experience? Because so many of them want to get out and make money. You got to do the process, you got to do the work. And I think that's the other part. If it helps you realize what kind of work goes into being an adult, even when you've been an adult for a few years.
Mm-hmm. And we really don't know what adulting is.
Right. It becomes a catchphrase, but it's real talk. It's a light bill. It's, they want that every 30 days. You have to explain it. Or
they want a piece of it. They don't want a part of it. They want the whole thing.
They want all of it. And you better go out there and do your part. But that's what gets me. And I think that's why it was so refreshing to read and work on with you. Because it was honest. It was really honest.
And that's where you and Dominique pushed me. Y'all knew both sides of my life. And so I couldn't get away with nothing.
No, remember when you did, so you have to be in a situation like this, honest about the failures, honest about the successes. And so many times we don't talk about where we were afraid or where we failed or how we get up or how we're still trying to get up. And I think that it's not necessarily, it's your journey, but here's some pitfalls. This is what I should have done. Even a recent one, right? And that's what makes it a better book than most. Because you don't present yourself as if you got it all together. It's a process.
Yeah, I mean, I've been realizing that I've been in this imposter syndrome since like, I had straight A's in middle school and high school, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're so smart. And I'm like, but I stayed up all night. I didn't get this easy. I had to work for it. And the whole thing, oh, you smart, you got this PhD. I had to sacrifice. I had to choose. I couldn't do everything. I talk about the sacrifices, but just realizing that, Erin, you're not an imposter. You are, even my dissertation, it studies the science of success. Like, how can you measure success? What does it look like? How do you get it? It's like the people who are successful have the failures, but it's how you overcome. And so once I started to understand that concept, I was like, well, you're not an imposter. You just like every other person who has found some type of success. So we are nearing our end. It's supposed to be 30 minutes. I knew we were going to go over. We have to do a couple of shameless plugs. I saw on Instagram, Crew of Lit has joined, and she also said that she was preaching. So on March 27th, Saturday, go follow Crew Lit. We'll also have some Instagram posts on both of ours. Both Dr. Jackson and I will be in person with some books. I might even have some Live Wiser. I definitely have Go Wiser with me. But we will be at the Crew of Lit, where we're celebrating local Black authors. It is, I had a great time, not last year, but the year before. And so that's one shameless plug. Another shameless plug, Dr. Jackson, how do we find your book? Your books with an S.
Yes. My first one came out in 2019. Yes, 2019. Deserving Grace. It's on Amazon. under CL Jackson, Deserving Grace. My second one, you can get at Barnes & Noble and Amazon, because guess what? It's under the Ashe print, right? It's under Ashe, the imprint. And it's available for download or hard copy. And I will be at Crew of Lit. They're letting an author from the great state of Mississippi come over. And thank you very much for letting me in. So this, yeah, it's a continuation. It's a series. Hopefully you like it. If you like a little romance in your life. Again, the scholar of African American lit wrote a not so scholarly book in my grown up glow up. So,
but hey, the example is Stacey Abrams is a fiction author too. I forgot her pen name, but I thought that was amazing.
Oh my gosh, it's Selena, I think it is. I can't remember. So that made me feel better. So don't think too poorly of good old Dr. Jackson. But CL Jackson.
Now, this ain't the Deserving Grace. I was like, well, Mama, I know you know Candice. Yeah, this ain't nothing about there's not no Kimberly Lawson Roby.
It'll be a spiritual moment, but it's not a spiritual tea.
And the third shout out, I think Pastor Dominique was on. She's in school, so she might be, I don't know, in and out. But I did see her peek her head in. She's 1/3 of Ashe Publishing. Her title is Chief Creative Officer. And so she is 1/3. We are 3 African American ladies who are, choosing to open up a lane for other Black authors. Our mission and our passion is to help other people find their voice, share it, and not see writing a book as something that's impossible or that's reserved for other people. So we're working on our projects and working through some things. So stay tuned. If you do have a book in mind, we'll be doing some writing workshops, some coaching programs, and we'll be helping you to get your work out to the public just like we did. And last shameless plug, you can go to my website, erinrwheelerphd.com/shop to get your advanced copy of Live Wiser. It's coming out on my birthday, June 20th, which is actually Father's Day. It happens to me every 4 years, but hey, this year will be my birthday and the day that I dropped my second book. The first 30 orders, I only have a few more left. Y'all are showing out with pre-orders. The first 30 orders gets a special gift package, and you will receive your book hopefully in April, 2 months ahead of time. And so if you go now you can even go to my Instagram. If you're there, go to my profile, hit shop. You can purchase it from there. If you are on Facebook, you can go to my website, or you can go to my page and you can also buy it from my shop there. Be sure to get that in. Love for you to get your hands on it early so you can make other people jealous so they can go buy it before June 20th as well. Did I get all our publication? Oh, I was saying about Dominique, the other book that's out, Pastor Dominique. It is Ever After Happily. I think I referenced her book in mine because I'm like, she does it way better. She talks about being single and not even satisfied. The authentic journey of being single. She's not so super religious where she's saying she's gonna date Jesus. She's super real. But really help in that space of people who saying, well, I should be married by 25 because I need to have 2 kids and a dog by 20. I want to, all of the way people make out single and married life. She dispels that. So we have 3 different types of books out from Ashe Publishing. We will be doing an official launch very soon. We've been dropping tidbits. We're just trying to get our lives together as authors.
Right. And so it's a mighty powerful trio if you got the pastor, the living expert, and then when you get ready, the romance novel. There you go.
Yeah, we work it. It's fun times. It's fun times. I wish we all could 3 be on here. We will have to do a live where all 3 of us are on board, and so people can see what team they will have to push them. So thank y'all for everybody who's on Instagram. We're new to this. So next week on the 24th, I will be reading. I haven't decided which chapter I'm going to read. I'll be reading one of my favorite chapters, so you can preview of what this book really is. That's next week, 7:00, same place. Really excited. I have to choose which one. Which one do you think I should do? I should just start the intro and leave it.
You got to do a little bit of the glow up, grown up glow up. You got to do some of that.
Okay.
We talked too much, so we. And thank you, Dr. Wheeler, because this is my first live. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, thank y'all. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe in the storm. If you're in this path, hopefully you are protected and the storm has passed over and everybody still has lights and everything, because we'd have been through that the last few weeks. We need our basic necessities. We're not built for that.
I don't think Jackson can take much more. We work on. Yeah, we can't take much more. So y'all pray for us.
Well, good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night.